Everything's got to be earned. When you're in my circle, man, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can be my brother and my best friend, but you're going to earn
your part,
because I was never handed anything in my life. Everything I achieved in my life, I literally had to fight for it tooth and nail, but that's made me who I am.
We've been through everything, man. We've had enemies together. We've been enemies. Like, it's just,
we grabbed each other's backs.
He always told me what he was going to do, and he got it done regardless what was in the way. And he's so resilient. It's wild to think that, like, he's accomplished so much in 24 hours. How do you maximize your 24 hours? Mike would probably pop up in the definition. I'm like, how do you do that, bro?
You wouldn't see what I'm doing right now if Mike hadn't done what he has done for me. It would have been a much tougher road. Mike, thank you for everything you've done over the years. I know you've helped Emmanuel significantly. I can name a handful of other guys that probably won't give you credit, but you've been there. You've been there. You're putting on, you're giving this industry the spark and the effort and the attention that it needs to detail.
I think we're ready for this announcement today and ready to show people what I have in store for next and how I'm going to bring what I've learned on that ground level backstage and in the trenches with my athletes, how I'm going to bring that now to the show. How I'm going to bring that to the forefront of the league as making sure these athletes are definitely having the best experience of their lives and prospering. I can help them after their careers. Can't help athletes while they're going through their careers. I can help with other businesses I'm involved in when it comes to shows and stuff like that. You know, there's so much I feel like I'm going to be able to provide now. I think I'm going to be on a better side of the fence going forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, all around the world, bringing you an exclusive today. We have the Men's Physique Show, the man himself, a legend in bodybuilding, a legend, I tell you. The man owns the largest Gold's Gym that there is in the nation. One of the most amazing coaches, well-renowned coach, our boy, Mike Rotini. Give it up, let's go.
That was an intro, wow.
And of course, my incredible host, you know them, Avon, hailing out of Australia, the Australian voice of Men's Physique, Phil Naselli, let's go. And that man who's always wavy and McGravy, you know him, the heartbeat of Men's Physique, Hart McGrath, give it up. And last but not least, myself, Aline Bolton, IBB Pro Masters, the gaffer. Let's get into it. What's going on, Mike? You got some big news to tell us. We can't wait to hear about it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to share a lot with you guys. I appreciate you guys inviting me on, and obviously there's some things we'll address and some rumors going on, and I couldn't probably have picked a better platform to kind of share this news. I think you guys are great at what you guys have been doing and where you're going with the platform. So I'm glad that I can support that and speak about it on this, because I think a lot of the people that watch these things, know and followed my coaching career for over the last decade and some of the athletes that I worked with. And I think what's even better is that I can help utilize this platform to really show where the league is going, where I'm trying to impact the league through coaching, through my gyms, through now, as you guys know, promoting shows. And then my big announcement, I think that's going to be the greatest news of all of where we're going and what we're going to be doing next.
Brother, we're so thrilled and so happy to have you on today. I mean, you have helped so many athletes, not only in their early careers as amateurs, and we're talking every division too. We're not just talking men's physique, we're talking every division, but also as pros, and how you've taken so many athletes to the Olympia and really help to showcase bodybuilding in such a positive light. We know you personally as a man of honor and as a man of great insight, a businessman, and we can't wait to get into all of this. Boys, what are you thinking?
Mike, just like Aleem said, man, we really appreciate you being on the show today, man. And like you said, you got some big news that you want to reveal, and it's pretty big news. Like, we're excited to be the platform that you're able to announce that on. And like I said, we appreciate you wanting to do it on our platform. But the first thing I want to kick it off with is I want to kind of take it back to when you first started your coaching journey. I know you said you were a pro, and then you kind of got into the coaching aspect of things, and obviously, you've got your own business that you've kicked off and absolutely dominating the game. I mean, you've got clients from around the world, you got athletes on your roster. But my first question to you is, man, like, what got you into coaching initially?
Well, I was in the gym business first. I competed, in my early 20s. I think it was 20 years old when I first started, which was in the bodybuilding. But I was always working at a gym. I mean, honestly, when I got out of school, I was going to play Division I football, lacrosse, decided to drop out of college, and I went right into a gym. That's the only thing I knew where I excelled. I wasn't a great student. I was by far the worst student. If I was a better student, I probably could have got bigger colleges to look at me for my sports. But unfortunately, I just wasn't great in the classroom. I grew up with a lot of learning disabilities that I think have helped to my strengths today. My attention deficit disorder, but the ability to focus on multiple things at once is kind of intriguing, but I've learned how to control that and use the energy to be able to work on multiple projects. It's just when you're growing up, you kind of don't know these things. And when I went to high school, we didn't have a lot of these educational classes in our schools that would help guys with disabilities. It was like you were the weird kid if you were in one of those classes, So I always try to skate my way through and get by and, have a lot of people help me. And thank God I was the captain of the football team, captain of the lacrosse team, where the coaches were my teachers, and they kind of like guided me through to high school, but I couldn't carry me through college, where I failed there miserably. So when I left college, I didn't know what to do, guys. The only thing I figured out was like, I might as well just go to a gym. And I worked the front desk. I was a cleaner. I started at the bottom, making very little money, maybe $350 a week. I was lucky. I had a salary of like $150 and my next job when I was doing sales, and the rest was commissions. I mean, I really started at the bottom of the industry, but I worked my way up. I worked my way up all through the ranks and became a great gym operator, GM. And then when I started taking off my business, we started going into a pandemic in 2020, and my gyms were shut down. I was doing a lot of coaching on the side. I was starting to work with guys since 2016, so I was doing it 10 years. And I turned pro myself back in 2016. I came back after like being 10 years off from 12 years off from competing, got my pro card in North Americans. And right after that, I competed a couple of years, was coaching about 10 to 15 people. And once I decided to retire when I tore my pec, I went full-time into coaching really hard. 2018, 19, met Brett Mario. A lot of these guys, you guys remember him. He was a great competitor. One of my top first guys, I turned pro in 2019. And then after that, 2020, turned about 4 or 5 guys pro. 21, turned like 10 people pro, 12 people pro, 22, another 10, 23. And now I go from, just having some guys that I was coaching for free on the side to having a roster of Olympians. And then more Olympians came and more pros were developed. I think I probably had about 1,000 top fives in the NPC and IFBB out of 5 different divisions. I had about close to over 110 overalls in the NPC in a pretty short period of time. And I think what I accomplished, my biggest accomplishment, is having 82 pro wins in the last 4 years.
Wow.
My first real pro win was not until with my first Olympian was George Brown, that I took to Olympia. And then after that, it was, Manuel Hunter, Antoine Weatherspoon, Chris Barr, Barack Azul. Alex Rogers. It just kept on snowballing to where then I had about 20, 30 Olympians I was working with over the last couple of years. So it was amazing. We accomplished a lot, but that 82 pro wins, I think, with my masters team and my open team was probably the biggest accomplishment over the last 4 years that we were able to do that. So it was exciting. I think I developed a lot of great coaches underneath me during that time too. We're now seeing them I mean, I think Tom Cox had like 8 pro cards last year, you know, from a guy that I was just coaching as an athlete, you know, just watching him win an overall at nationals. I mean, I was a part of a lot of guys' journeys, you know, working with Jeremy Buendia since 2015 on his back end systems, and now doing some work with him, watching him as he was retiring, transitioning. I mean, I've done a lot of things people don't know about for many, many years with athletes, from the management side to the coaching side, to competing, to getting them involved in things. You know, now we're working with Emmanuel Hunter, you know, with the Hunter Classic, you know, helping my management company, helping these guys do their own shows after they make a legacy. I mean, really exciting things, but with all that comes some down things. Like today, we're going to announce something that I didn't think I would ever do over the last couple of years. I never wanted to do. I saw myself taking this all the way to the end. But as you go through life and you go through different challenges and different opportunities, you decide to kind of make transitions when it's right. You know, I was presented with something that I felt like I couldn't pass up on at the time and moment of where the league is at. And so that's why I think we're really on this call to really get more in depth in that.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I personally got to hang out and got invited by Mike back in what was it, Mike, 2021 Boston Pro?
Yep.
And I actually got to room with him for a couple nights. He flew me out there, paid me, and just, I really got to see a front row seat of how Mike operates as a coach. Emmanuel Hunter was at that show, and that was one of his top athletes that he was coaching. And it's incredible what you do, Mike. It's incredible, the care and the support and your details. I mean, I remember you coming in the room and just picking little things apart. It was, my mind was blown. You know, my mind was blown. So as far as coaching, I think of Cuts when I think of some of the best men's physique coaches in the world. Your name comes up, you know, 100%. I want our audience to know that. So I'm just really grateful that you're in the room right now and we're talking to you.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, the one thing about Cuts, you know, Cuts was a big motivator for me, man. I mean, that guy, every year, it's like, you always got to look at someone where you're like, all right, I got to be better than him, right? Or I got to catch up to him. And, you know, that was the guy that I always looked at. There was a few others, you know, when I first got on the scene, it was Omar, you know, was running things, you know, and Ryan Benson. Those were the guys we looked at right there, me and Cuts. And then Cuts was kind of right behind them. Then I was right behind Cuts. But those were our you know, our mentors. You know, they don't know it, but we watched what they did, me and Cuts, and we want to be better than what they did, you know, and they fueled us to really, they started the game really way before us. I mean, Ryan was doing this 20 years. I was doing it 10 years. You know, Cuts is probably doing it 12 or 13 years now. You know, Omar is one of the original OGs of this. So Olympian titles, I mean, what they've accomplished. So it's very exciting, but I'll tell you one thing, it's the amount of responsibility, especially when you're talking about us four right there, the amount of responsibility of hundreds and hundreds of men and women that you are looking after every single weekend, every single week. They're investing so much money into themselves, right? Thousands of dollars to compete and buy stuff and travel. And, you know, one decision we can make as a coach can ruin a whole year of preparation. So I don't think people realize the stress that we endured as top level coaches and Olympian coaches, and how long we went through it for. I mean, I traveled to 33 shows last year. I don't think I ever had a day off in the last 4 years where my phone wasn't constantly ringing at least 30 times in a day. To sometimes 125. I've got 1,100 text messages in a day. So, and plus, I own 17 health clubs on top of that and have 1,100 employees, and a family and 2 boys, you know, that thank God they're older now. And I've been through that part, but I did a lot of that all through that transition. On the top of that, almost losing everything, going bankrupt, my businesses, a pandemic, all through my coaching career. So with all that stress and all of that, you can't ever put that onto your athletes. And you got to be that motivator. You got to be that leader for them. You got to be there thick and thin, sun up to sundown, 5 a.m. wake ups before a show, coaching people in Japan, overseas, Masters Olympia. I mean, Romania. I mean, I've done it all, and it's taxing, I have to say. But when you see that guy win that award, you see when you win a pro show and you get somebody to Olympia and what changes their. I mean, I've seen like Chris Barr, his whole career change, and now he's a top, owns a supplement company, and he's growing all over the U.S. and because of what we were able to build through competing. Watching Jeremy Buendia, look at the legacy, and I was there for a good portion of watching that grow or be a part of in and out of his life. Emmanuel Hunter, when I met him, he was a guy that had a hard time getting his first call out. Alex Rogers, never saw a first call out, so it's that aspect of it is so rewarding, and they're memories that I don't think I can ever erase out of my mind. I know like the last days on my bed, I'm going to be thinking about those moments that we cried together, we hugged together, we, slept on floors. I mean, during the pandemic, when I had no gyms open, I had no money and paying out payroll to make sure my people ate for, months on end. I was literally going to shows. We were all bunking up, traveling, driving across the state, with masks on and shit, so the journey was amazing, but I think we're ready for this announcement today and ready to show people what I have in store for next and how I'm going to bring what I've learned on that ground level backstage and in the trenches with my athletes, how I'm going to bring that now to the show, how I'm going to bring that to the forefront of the league as making sure these athletes are definitely having the best experience of their lives and prospering, because hopefully I can help them after their careers. Obviously, can't help athletes while they're going through their careers. Some, I can help with other businesses I'm involved in when it comes to shows and stuff like that. But, there's so much I feel like I'm going to be able to provide now. I think I'm going to be on a better side of the fence going forward. So I will be officially retiring as an IFBB coach. My last show coaching was just a couple months ago in Florida at Atlantic Coast. I wasn't able to tell people because there was a lot of negotiating things that we had to figure out. And I had to make sure my new position is what I thought it was going to be and how it was laid out and the responsibilities through Tyler Mannion. And I decided this was going on for the last half a year. Unfortunately, rumors got out, Emmanuel was one of the first athletes I had to tell, and he knew before Olympia, going into that with the amount of stress that we had on our shoulders and a lot of some health issues we hit during the peak week. It was rough, it was a rough time for things to come out. It was never what I wanted. And that's why I wanted to get on with you guys today is to stop the rumors. It's true. I will be stepping down as a coach, and I will never coach again.
Wow. Well, just so that everybody hears, the man himself, the legend himself, Mike, is now stepping down from coaching. Mike,
taking off the cape,
putting it down. What's the number one challenge you had as a coach in your career?
I think the challenge is, trying to please everybody, but I think the most rewarding thing of the challenge is that, you get to shape people and mold them and really direct them to be successful at this sport. Seeing them win was way better, more fulfilling for me. I never was happy. I didn't get to be an Olympian, unfortunately. I started very late back at it. I should have kept going. I was at 20, but kind of glad I went into the gym business or I wouldn't be here. But, I'm glad I didn't go that route. I'm glad I didn't really taste that because I don't think it was really rewarding for me. If I would have won a show, I'd have been like, good, now I need to win Olympia. I was very obsessive. I got very compulsive when I was competing to the point where kind of really ruined my relationship at the time. My marriage, it ruined, it hurt. I mean, I couldn't handle the competing. I got so obsessed with trying to be so perfect where I felt like the coaching side, I got more reward watching a guy win than I ever won. I didn't smile. After I got my pro card, I didn't smile. I was like, oh, back to drawing board. I didn't, my coach crying on the phone with me and like, was like all excited. And I'm like, what do we do next? Yeah. I thought it was going to be fulfilling. Now, when I got a guy a pro card and I saw his family there and everyone crying and hugging and he's looking at me, man, that's nothing. I was thinking about how am I going to fulfill that again? But I think now with my next step, one, I want to be the best promoter in the world. That's my goal. I know that sounds crazy, but just like I thrive to try to be one of the top coaches, I want one to be one of the best promoters. Being around Freddie, being around watching Gary Udit, watching Steve Weinberger my whole career. Literally, I grew up in New York. I watched Steve, judge from one of his first big head judging jobs. I used to go to Bev's when I was a kid just to be inspired. So I really always, it's kind of weird. I always wanted to be a judge. I always wanted to be a judge first before I wanted to be an actual athlete or a coach, because I watched guys like Steve Weinberger. I watched Jim Manning at the table back in the 80s and stuff like that, at Olympia. I went to 15 Olympias, 17 Olympias. I went to Pittsburgh Pros when I was a teenager. So I always wanted to be on that. And, that's why I decided that I will be stepping away from coaching. I will be a pro head judge. And I also took the position as chairman of the state of North Carolina. And that now puts me in a position where I can really give back. I want to get pay higher for these athletes. I want to put on, with my ability, with my gyms and the Gold's Gym brand, and to brand the show that I'm doing. And then the other things and other shows that I'll be working with, helping Emmanuel Hunter do the Hunter Classic. Hopefully there's a couple other pros right now. I don't want to say anything, that I'll be helping them get their shows off the ground. I mean, that putting on a place now I can get 1,000 people to come and all at once and have a good time. I think that's the next high for me. That's
boys, we got Mike now as a promoter and a judge about to drop it on the entire division. This is game changing. People don't understand. You're talking about someone who was one of us, for us, and by us, about to be behind the steering wheel along with Tyler and drive us into the future. Are you kidding me?
To go, I have a lot of, I'm going to be shadowing Tyler for a good amount this next year. Definitely trying to take a lot out of it. For him to pick me and to give me this opportunity, I feel like I definitely can't let him down. I had to make some, really big commitments. There's a commandment that we have to live by. And you got some of these podcasts out there making it seem like things are ran a certain way. Tyler is really strict on how the judges act, what we post, making sure we're not getting in ourselves into stupid conversations, controversial conversations, political conversations. There's a lot that I have to change. It's different being behind that table and being responsible, for people's placings and picking the right person who deserves to win. I think that's a tremendous responsibility. It kind of feels like I'm still coaching because I got to make the right calls. I have to hold that integrity. And that's really important to me. I don't care if I used to coach the guy or knew the guy or was a member of my gym. Listen, man, the best physique's always going to win. And I told Tyler about this. Like, if there's always people saying, oh, well, this judge knows that, or this did. Listen, I don't truly believe in that. I never did. I know that's not the way Steve judges. There's a way Tyler wants us to judge, and that I'm going to uphold that to I don't care, honestly, who the athlete is. If they won 20 Olympias, if they're not the best person on stage that day, they're not winning. If I have to take controversy for stuff like that, that's what I want to be known. If that's the only controversy I want to be known by, is that, man, every time he didn't care who was up there, it was the best guy, the best physique won. And I'm ready to make sure I can bring that to the judging panel. And then as far as the chairman role, making our shows extremely amazing in the state of North Carolina. I'll be doing shows outside of North Carolina, working with other promoters. I got a guy like Freddie in my corner. I know we'll be working on some projects. Who's kind of a mentor for me now, like how I kind of always looked up to the Ryan Benson and the Cuts, who are kind of guys that I went through the last decade with. I got a Freddie, is one of the most exciting promoters in the industry right now. He's doing things different. If you see his shows, they're different. And I want to help expand that into my regions and take some stuff out of his playbook, but I have my own ideas. Having guys like you a part of the shows. We need these powerful influencers, the Harvard Graphs, the Sookies, you guys are great, tremendous for our division. Not just the men's physique division, but the sport itself. And I've always tried with men's physique news, and that's why page is going, and make sure that they are interacting to build the sport. I've always tried to uphold integrity and make sure that the sport had a spotlight on it, or the end of the division. Men's physique is obviously it's what I went pro in, so I loved it, but I love the sport. I was a bodybuilder way before men's physique, so that's my DNA. But yeah, so getting to be on that side of the fence, a different role, but kind of the same role. I feel like it's still teaching, it's still mentoring and molding guys. I want to make sure after shows I'm sitting back there with them. If I got to do email, I'll do email. But my feedback in detail that I used to love to do back, on those shows that we did, and me and Ben used to do, and I've done with you guys. I love critiquing. I love giving back and just giving one little 2 pointers. And I feel like I was born with a really blessed eye. I was a pretty consistent coach. I think that's why I have an eye for business and development and building gyms. So I want to take that eye and I want to be able to utilize it and develop in what I feel is the standard physiques for the IFBB and the men's physique division, and bikini and fit model, the same standards. Tyler has a certain way things are going to be done and what he's looking for. Us, all the judges behind him, the old judges that we got to follow that and we got to hold it. And we got to make sure that everybody's uniform to picking that same criteria and standard. So I think from the judging standpoint, I think I'm going to give a different spin. Yeah, I'm going to be a very vocal judge. I'm not going to be one of those judges you don't see on social media. I think I have to be careful with my content on social media, but I want to be out there. I love how Tyler gives the feedback and does those videos. So I want to do that in some sense if Tyler allows it. Obviously, I think I have a lot to do this year before I start doing more detailed stuff like that. But I think us as judges getting out there more, doing more seminars, that I'll be doing a ton of. As you know, I have one of the largest seminars in the East Coast right now. And we're going to grow that series. These are the little things I'm putting in place in our regions and our states that are going to be different. My influence now in Florida with building my gym chain down there, I will be tying my Gold's gyms. My gyms will have posing rooms. They will have IFBB NPC apparel. My brand from the outside with Gold's and tying it into the league later, I think it's going to help grow our divisions quicker.
It's amazing. Mike, the first thing I want to say on behalf of Aleem, Hart, the athletes that you've coached throughout the years, what you've done for the sport, is we want to greatly thank you for what you've done, because you've been an absolute juggernaut to the sport and the division as a whole. And now you're moving into this next phase of your life. We can tell by the passion that you have behind what you're about to move into. Like, this sport and this division more specifically is going to absolutely take off. And with your plans, being on the judging panel, whatnot, now moving into the chairman role, working alongside Tyler. We know Tyler is the young face of bodybuilding, and we know where he wants to take the sport as a whole. And I think you two working side by side to do it in conjunction, the sport's good. You guys are going to, I'm not going to say make bodybuilding great again, but because it already is great, but you're going to make it greater than what it already is. And we really look forward.
That's my goal. Yeah, that is my goal. If I can make a little impact, that's a lot, So, to have that opportunity, I truly believe in Tyler. I think he's so ahead of his age. I mean, he's 30 years old, but guys, he's not 30. People don't realize, I remember when Tyler first judged, I was one of the first shows he judged. It was 2018 Worlds. And Tyler was, I think, one of his first head judging shows that year by himself. And I got judged by him. And I was like, man, this young kid coming out here, he held himself, very well, you just saw it coming, how Jim Mannion was, they're very, very similar. And I think Jim knows that, or he wouldn't have made him the vice president. He's a spitting image of his grandfather, and he's a lot like his mother too. He's on point. He's going to make mistakes, guys. I mean, that's normal. I mean, if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. But I don't think he'll ever make a crucial mistake ever. I think he's too sharp for that. And I think he's going to revolutionize the sport. And I want to be behind that, pushing him, helping him, supporting him, to be able to do that faster. At least in my areas and my regions, I know I can do that with the influence of owning multiple states for Golds. We have all South Florida, all North Carolina, South Carolina. Pretty much I can really make a huge impact from Florida all the way up is what my goal is with the league, by helping my gyms promote the league, helping my gyms help the promoters get to the membership bases and the fitness enthusiasts, right? and then be able to also use my TVs, my podcast, everything that I'm doing with my news channels. I want the guys like you. I want the promoters. I want them to be able to use these channels. And then I can even, while I'm judging, I want to market when I'm doing the show. I want to talk about the Charlotte Pro, my first show that I'll be on the panel at. Now that I'm able to announce this and it's out in the open, I want to talk about the Charlotte Pro, leading all the way to the Charlotte Pro, just because I'm a judge on that panel. And me and Tyler, it looks like we'll be judging that together. So I'm excited, man. I think I'm gonna bring something different to that part of the sport. And then, my show series, the state championships, the Hunter Classic, the Golds Classic, and then we got some pretty big announcements coming pretty soon on some other ones. So I think the projects that you see that I'm going to keep doing are going to get bigger and bigger. But yeah, I know we have a guest that was going to join in. I don't know if you want to bring him in.
Yeah, let's bring him in.
Let's bring him in.
Since we were just talking about him. Let's go. There he is.
There he is. I've spoken to you so many times this week.
We're calling you Emax because your back is like the IMAX movie screen. So we're calling you Emax.
He's looking swole.
Hey, Mike just dropped the news on us, man, and dropped the news on everybody. Hart, what did he say?
Emmanuel Hunter is the first men's physique pro ever to have his own show, the Hunter Classic, and Mike's backing him and a part of that, and that's huge, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go, Mike.
Say about that. Yeah. So that is obviously Emmanuel was the first person to get wind of this. Unfortunately, the timing where Emmanuel found out before Olympia was probably the worst time for both of us. And I tried to, because it wasn't official. I didn't take the job until after Olympia, but I think we both knew. I think Emmanuel knew where my heart was going, and how I wanted to be more present in my personal life. He saw where I was putting a lot of focus on with the shows. So I think, when something got leaked to him, we had to deal with that before Olympia, and we both pretended like we didn't know that we knew.
Yeah.
And then obviously, there was nothing more important that I wanted to go out on top of that. I mean, we had a very successful year, not just me and Emmanuel. The team had a record year, the most pro cards we ever had, the most pro wins we ever had. We won some big pro shows. Emmanuel winning the Tampa Pro was one of our goals. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. But, our goal was to win Olympia that year, and we didn't. We dealt with a bunch of things going into the show prior. I think, decision making, going to shows so early in August, we look back at those decisions. There's a lot of things. People don't realize how much goes into planning to nail that peak, right? Or be perfect and healthy for a show on time at that level. And the amount of pressure that God knows, I can't imagine. I know the pressure I felt. I can imagine the pressure that Emmanuel felt, because there was times when we knew 7 days out from the show, it was like we were just, like the body wasn't responding and things were going on. It wasn't just leading up to the show. But, we got through that. I think the way Emmanuel handled it was amazing. We cried after the show together. We laughed after the show together. But we always knew we had each other's back. And I knew one of the goals for Emmanuel was to get right back in prep and redeem himself. And we knew right away he had to pick another coach and I wouldn't be moving forward. And I think he picked a good coach that's kind of cares a lot like me, And I think Emmanuel, that's really important to Emmanuel, is that you ride with him. And you're not just a coach, it's a brotherhood, like kind of how you guys operate, right? We talked about that. Like you guys ride together. Like when I asked Hart, hey, Hart, I want to do something with you. Hey, man, it's me and my guys. It's not just me anymore. And I was like, damn, I respect that. And that's how me and Emmanuel rode for these last couple of years. This one, unfortunately, there was no time left. So, I told him my decision I made after Olympia. And then, we quickly went to the drawing board and brought Will in, and, Will's took the drive-in seat right after Olympia, and is doing a phenomenal job. I think Will's going to help in other aspects of his career where I'm still there as hopefully a mentor and other things.
You are. Yeah, you are.
Most important, business aspect, and I can't help Emmanuel on the competing side, but give him my advice. You know, maybe one day, hopefully I'm judging him and watch him bring the ultimate package in front of me. And I think he's going to get there, you know, and you know, again, I'll let him kind of speak about the transition a little more, but of kind of how I think our relationship has been. Emmanuel was my first top 2 at the Arnold. Emmanuel was my first top 4 at the Olympia. Emmanuel was my Tampa Pro winner. You know, I mean, the stuff that we accomplished, I never accomplished with anyone else. And he was a big part of me growing to the type of level coach that I was. Also one of the hardest motherfuckers to ever peak in the world. So we definitely, you know, he definitely challenged me as a coach. He made me better. And hopefully I was able to do the same thing for him on the other side of the spectrum with his life.
You have. Let me ask the elephant in the room real quick. Emmanuel, one, are you expecting any freebies or any handouts from Mike when he's judging you?
No, I think
he knows that ain't happening.
We talked about this whenever us 3 got on the call earlier this week, last week. We talked about that, and I said, y'all really think he's gonna take it easy on me? Bro, no, I have to be perfect in his eyes when I'm on stage in front of him. And people think, y'all think, yeah.
And I would tell him I don't like,
bro.
I was like, this is
bro. I've been. Here's a quick story, and I won that show in Georgia. Mike was like, great. He was like, great. We beat Kaiki. Let's sit down. Yeah. He's like, bro, it was bad. He was like, you won, but you know, we could have been better. And then I went to Memphis the following week, and Mike was like, why are you doing this show? We shouldn't be doing this show. You good? I said, Mike, I just need to redeem myself. You told me I look like shit. Mike sent me the plan. He sent me the plan like Wednesday because we were still mad at each other over the weekend because I decided to do another show. And he was like, all right, here's your plan. Send me check-ins in the morning. I did it, dude. Blew everybody out of the water. We beat Corey and Ben that day. And he was like, what was your weight? I was like, the same weight. It was saying just a different look. I was like, what did we eat? And like, that's why I love Mike so much, because the data that he's got like from me, and like if we're doing a show early, we have a plan for early shows. We're doing shows later in the year, we have a plan for later in the year. And it's crazy. Like, but it took us 5 years, you know, to learn these type things, and it's been fun. It's a roller coaster, and he's guided me in ways that I don't think nobody else could have.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that as well, because I mean, work with Mike, such a great coach. I want to know, what did you take away from your experience work with him? What are the biggest tips that you learned from Mike? You know, being such a great mentor that he is. Yeah, what are some of the takeaways that you're going to take from your journey with him?
One thing is, he always told me what he was going to do, and he got it done regardless what was in the way. And he's so resilient. Like, it's wild to think that like he's accomplished so much in 24 hours. I'm like, how do you maximize your 24 hours? Mike would probably pop up in the definition, you know? And like, I see these things, I'm like, how do you do that, bro? He's like, oh, man, I just don't stop. I just keep going. I said, well, when something happens, like a hiccup happened, he said, I handle the hiccup and I get back to what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, I see what you're doing, you know, but this man has faced a lot of adversities, and he's shown me ways that are like how to get through things. You know, I mean, he now we're on a whole different side of bodybuilding now, and he's showing I'm brand new to this, and we're starting all over again. You know, wow. I can only imagine what we're going to do in 5 years, what we just did in bodybuilding on stage.
Yeah, love that. And I love the fact that you've teamed up with with Mike to make it all happen. I mean, obviously Mike is a wealth of knowledge in the promoter space. He's run so many shows around the States in the last couple of years. What's the biggest lesson you've learned from Mike in regards to how to operate and run the back end of bodybuilding shows?
You have to talk to my wife about that. Because
the real boss. That's the real boss.
Yeah, she's the real boss when it comes to everything that's doing. Her Mike talk more than I do. But the little bit that I know, man, it's so much that goes on and that we did not know about shows.
I'm excited to see the change of guards and see.
And you know who I'm bringing with me?
Who you bringing?
The first people that's gonna be commentating my show.
And who's that?
Who's that? Who are we talking about? There's announcements left, right, and center.
Y'all hearing it first. The exclusive. The men's physique show will be in the building at the Hunter Classic. The men's physique show will be in the building. Hart McGrath, Phil Naselli, Aline Bolton at the Hunter Classic, acting a fool, acting up, and putting all the athletes on the map. Let's go. I don't know if I got enough energy right now.
Well, someone's got the energy drinking.
I got a lot of young talent, NPC guys over here in Reno, Nevada, and I want to tell them personally, and I want to say I heard it from Emmanuel, the promoter of the show. They know who you are. They don't know you're doing a show. What can you tell me to tell them, or maybe you could just tell them here that or a reason why they need to be competing in your show?
Man, my show, I mean, I'm a new promoter, me and my wife, and it's backed up by one of the greatest promoters in the industry. Like we're gonna have the best production there. You know, I mean, what are we competing for? We're competing to turn pro. Why not step on a stage where it's pro, like getting judged by pro judges? You know, expediting by pro expediters. You're gonna get the best of the best at my show. You know, like I said, I've learned from the best. I'm still getting mentored by the best. You know, and he's continuing to learn, so I'm going to continue to learn. That's why I would love for people to do my show, because my show is going to be like a pro-like show. You know, I know how it has been ran at the highest of the highest level. So I know the production team is going to bring it at the highest level.
Speaking of production,
we're not talking.
You got Gil Coke showing up?
Of course, the best.
No, we're looking forward to
So to make
that.
sure we understand, you got Gilco Productions going to be in the house, and the men's physique show going to be in the house at your show. I mean, if I'm an amateur, how am I not going? I'm going to have the best pictures known to the industry. I'm going to get the best video footage known to the industry. I'm going to get the best commentating on my physique that's very detailed and constructive about my physique, so I can take that and learn and grow from. I'm going to be treated like how athletes should be treated. I mean, why would you not do this show? That's the only question. Why would you not do it?
You have an opportunity to get judged by pro judges that's going to see you at the national level, and they're giving you feedback on what you need to do to the next level. Some judges will give you feedback and say, yeah, you should go to nationals. But these judges right here are going to be honest with you. Like, hey, you need to work on X, Y, and Z before you get on a national stage, before I'm judging you, because I'm going to give you the same results. Mm-hmm. We need more judges like that, to be honest, because how are we going to get better and have a better quality of athletes at the pro level if we're not teaching them and showing them the right way and treating them like they're pros at the NPC level?
Think about this.
Facts. And Mike, are you going to be one of the judges there, Mike?
I will be. I was asked, by Alan and obviously Emmanuel. I mean, just how many judges are going to be able to go back there, or promoters, and fix your posing, you know, go over stuff the feedback that you need. I mean, there's amazing promoters, amazing judges, but we lived this, we lived it. There's only very few judges out. David Gursky was a pro. We got Leo now. Some of us are starting to retire and become judges now, which is, I think a lot of us will probably do that. I'm sure one day Emmanuel will be up there with us judging, We should.
Well, I just told them that before you came back on.
We want, right? We want these guys that, for this division especially, we want the judges to really have lived it, been there, breathed it, know every part of what's going on in that competitor's mind, to really give them the quality feedback that they need, but also really be able to identify what is wrong and how to actually fix it right there at the show. Mm-hmm. Here's what I saw. This is why I judged you here. This is what I saw from this angle. This is why you shouldn't do this. This is how you need to hit your back pose. So I think, again, not only are we trying to really heighten the level of the game of the quality of the shows and the athlete experience, but really the judging experience with the athlete as well. And again, there's a lot of amazing judges out there. I just think we're going to bring another spin to it. I think we're going to help other judges be better. Honestly, it's what I love to bring up new judges around me that are really, I can mentor instead of athletes. So I'm going to be doing the same thing, just again, on a different side of the fence, which
we said that right before you came back on. I was telling them, a lot of people don't understand. They said they thought me and Mike was done. I'm like, bro, it's just another chapter.
We're just getting
we're not done.
We're done with the kid stuff.
Yeah. So,
but yeah,
we collectively love, we had an opportunity to talk with you before, and we just love your approach to life. And some people can get hit, and then they take that energy and then they put it on everybody else the same way, and it's very destructive. And some people take that energy and they like an alchemist, they change it internally and use it for positivity and help others. And clearly that's what you've been doing, and that's what you do, and that's why you resonate so much with the guys here on the show, all three of us, and our fans. So we are just ecstatic that you came on and you're able to talk about this. One of the questions I have for you, Mike, is when a lot of athletes right now, you were mentioning the West Coast, there's a change, there's a difference between athletes that get judged on the East Coast versus the way they're judged on the West Coast. Do you guys have plans to streamline that so that the judging is more consistent across the board, or that's way further down the road on your things
I think that's always Tyler's agenda. I mean, he wants everybody to judge similar. Listen, there's always going to be a judge that maybe prefers a little more fullness, a little more round, but there's a standard, there's a criteria. And I think what Tyler will do, and he continues to do, and as he's making changes, is that make sure the standard and the criteria is followed as close as possible. Tyler is one of those guys. It's like he watches every show. He watches everyone that gets picked. He really watches it and studies it. He's a student of the sport still himself. Again, he's been watching this since he's a toddler. For 30 years, Tyler's eye has been on the sport and watched it evolve closer than any of us here on this line, even though we competed. He was a Division I athlete. He competed at the Division I level. He knows what it's like to cut water and to drop 30 pounds in a couple of weeks to make weight for a wrestling meet at the Division I level. You know how hard that is? Guys, come on. It's hard, but a lot of people can get up on that stage. Not a lot of people can wrestle for Maryland at a Division I level and do it very well.
Wrestling's a whole nother animal. Yeah.
It's the mentality and, that I think he brings to the sport and to the league that I think is going to really help. I think he can identify a lot with the athletes and what they go through, which is very important. And I think he's got an amazing trained eye, and he's been around the best of the world his whole entire life. So I hate when people say he wasn't qualified or he was too young, and you couldn't get more qualified than what Tyler Mannion is. And I wouldn't want any other person to be the VP and running this league but him. I just want to heighten what he's doing, bring my business sense to the table and showcase what I can do from that side and make the league stronger on that end. Giving him advice on how we should handle contracts with promoters, whatever I can give back from my franchise experience, from my business experience, and install that into him with his bright mind. Tyler's one of those guys that just like, once you give him the information, he thinks about it, process himself, and then he's like, yeah, let's make it happen. So I like that about him. He's humble. He listens. He's all my feedback that I've ever, or thoughts. And I bring so much shit to Tyler's table, probably annoys him. Every week I'm texting him. Oh, I got this on my mind. Oh, what do you think about this? Sometimes he tells me, Mike, no, that's not going to work. And then he'll be like, holy shit, that was a great idea. So the fact that he gives me the ability to do that with him is exciting, because I think I can bring a different, to it.
Definitely a more modern flavor than what we're accustomed to seeing more traditionally. Although it's worked. I mean, clearly bodybuilding is incredible right now, and it's certainly worked. But things are changing and ever evolving. Technology, life, focus, streaming. Mike, do you have plans from a commentating perspective to do anything a little bit different to entice and excite?
That's why I reached out to you guys. As you guys know, and I wish he could have been on this as well with us. I've been working extremely close with Suki and BTS TV and the collaboration we've done over the last year. I knew I had to kind of step away from that, but I wanted Men's Physique to keep going and keep building. And that page has been, as you guys know, it influenced me when I first saw that page in 2017 and 16. And I would watch that page and I would see all these guys get posted. I'd be like, man, I want to be on that page. Yeah, I want to be posted on that page. And I remember there was a strict rule. Men's Physique News only follows pro athletes. So I would always get these requests from amateurs like, man, how do I get on this page? You got to keep going, bro. You got to become a pro to be on Men's Physique News and be featured or even be put on here. Like that's the. And I would get stopped at every show and national shows. I'd be walking through and be like, I'm going to be on Men's Physique News now. Like, will you follow me back? I'm like, hell yeah. It was like, they were more excited about that than they were getting their pro card. It was awesome. It was a great feeling. So I wanted to keep that page alive and I love it. And I wanted to be able to work with you guys and Suki and these other pages that are doing a phenomenal job uplifting and promoting our sport and uplifting the athletes. I want you guys to be a big part of these shows. Be there commentating with your energy, your network, and you guys have built your own cult following. I mean, Hart, what he did over this last couple of years is amazing. I mean, you guys know he's got that following that these guys, it doesn't matter if he goes away for a couple of months, he comes right back. They're right back there waiting and know. So, to have your guys' energy there and influence, and the athletes know how much you really care about them. They know that's why you have such low followers, right? Because you guys put all this time and effort into them out of your own time. They don't pay for it. You don't get, yeah, you're going to get sponsors, you're going to make some money and the page is going to grow, but that's not what you guys, none of you guys did this. I mean, look where Hart started. I mean, he'll tell you about his stories and where he started from, living out of his bedroom and trying to film things to get followers and come up with content, and did that with nobody paying him. That's why when I met Hart back in 2021, I was like, how can I help this guy get to the shows? How can I help him, get his foot in there and showcase his talent? I want to keep doing that with my pages. And then I want you guys to be able to be more part of these shows, to influence these guys. Like, look at all these guys you're creating that are great commentators now, right? What you're doing, Hart, is kind of like what I did as a coach and what I'm doing as a judge and as a promoter. There's no different. You're just doing it at a different angle. So why wouldn't I want to align myself with guys that are doing it like me, and making people better around them, and making it more exciting? I want to make the sport more fucking exciting.
Speaking of exciting, guess who we've got on the line right now, ready to jump in?
Let me just ask one more question before we get him in.
Okay,
just one more question. Mike, I got to ask you a question. So we asked E-Man just a couple of minutes ago about what he's learnt from you throughout his journey with you. But now I want to pass the torch over to you. And being a mentor of E-Man for a long period of time, obviously the coaching chapter has now closed, but we know that the bigger and better things are coming in the near future. What's the biggest piece of advice that you've got for E-Man as you now transition out of your coaching journey, but now as E-Man transitions into a bigger and better role, with what he's doing with the Hunter Classic?
I think what Emmanuel has done really good and he's learned to do is kept his circle small. Emmanuel doesn't allow a lot of people close into his life, but the people he has let in and guys that I've met, like Shanti, and, I think that Emmanuel's really done a good job keeping that circle small, and he needs to continue doing that and keep the noise out and not get so involved the noise outside. And I think as long as he keeps his head on straight and he keeps his head down and he keeps executing and listening like he has over these last couple of years, it's just a matter of time before he nails that perfect peak, before he gets that stride and gets one of those big, he knows what he's going for next. It's the Arnold, it's the Pit Pro, it's the Olympia. And I think just the best advice, keep doing what he's doing. Keep aligning himself with people who are going to make him better. And I think he's done that really well over the last couple of years. He keeps finding people to be good influences in his life to help mold him become a better man. And he's always been humble enough he's always been humble enough to know that he needs to always get better.
Stuff.
Yeah, he basically told me in the short form, they ain't helping you or pointing to your cup, they hurting you or they drinking from you. And how are you gonna, and I will always get burnt out, and then Mike will refill my cup and I get rid of that person. That's how important Mike is to me. And a lot of people look at it, oh man, that this show this, he can be better. I said, bro, y'all don't understand. Like, he has his problems on his end, I have my problems on his end. We meet here and we readjust and we get back straight on path again. A lot of people don't understand that. He has his business, I have my business. And then if something bothered me, he will call me. And if something bothered him that I said or I did, and we call each other, it's communication, literally. And so many people don't understand that. Like, it'd be so much animosity going on with people because they won't even speak up. Mike isn't afraid to speak up.
Facts.
I would add what's his name, man. He's waiting.
All right. What's his name? There we go. Hey, there he is.
Hey.
There he is.
What's up, you guys? How y'all doing?
What's up,
You gotta fill me in. What have you guys been talking about?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, everything. You, Emmanuel, Mike's transition right now.
The transition?
Gotta be careful how you say that.
I was waiting for this moment. I knew it was coming, but you know, we're all here for you, Mike. We still love you. It's all good. Doesn't affect our friendship in any way.
Well, yeah, Jeremy, I knew you knew about it, but we have finally announced the official retirement. And yeah, I wanted certain people on here because all of you guys have been a major impact in my journey over the last decade. Yeah, I don't think people realize how far we went back when you first started winning. And, you know, I got to see you win your second, third, fourth. We became friends shortly after his first Olympia. I think my first ever seminar in 2015 that I ran, Jeremy,
retro.
Yeah. You know, working with my first athlete, you know, on back end stuff and giving me those ideas. You know, we had a long journey, and we both grew up a lot over the last 10 years. And, you know, I was able to witness now be with Jeremy, which I think I've watched Jeremy transition through his last 10 years, right? You know, from becoming a champ in the beginning to how to handle being a champ for 4 years straight in a row, still nobody has ever done, and to, you know, losing that and then rebuilding a whole brand and going through a lot of things that he went through with bad people. And I've been through there too. I had myself aligned with bad partners and bad business situations, and you know, watch Jeremy overcome what he's overcome has been insane. And we've kind of gone through it differently, but we both, like, through the last 10 years were like this. And for us both now to be, I feel, at the peak of our careers. I mean, Jeremy is now a successful gym owner, and you know, he's got some big announcements of new stuff that he's working on. And you know, to be able to be there for him and work with him to help him through that transition, to be there and give him guidance has been rewarding. But he's helped me a lot. You know, he doesn't know that. I sometimes think I've told him, but you know, he's kind of always inspired me. I remember when he was like, "You're not even a pro." Like, he made a comment one time, we were like hanging out, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be a fucking pro, man. Watch it."
That Gold's Gym workout with me, DJ, you. And who else trained with us that day? Jeremy Potvin?
I think it was Logan Franklin, and you guys were making fun of me because I was yelling at you working out, and you were like, "You're not even a pro. Shut up." And I'm like, "Dude,
we have that workout on my YouTube channel from way back." Yeah.
So that's what inspired me to go back to bodybuilding after being off for so many years. I'm like, dude, I never want someone to tell me that I can't do something. It wasn't about being a pro. It was more like I was told like I couldn't do something, and that fired me up. And when me and Jeremy stopped talking for a little bit of a period of time, I was focusing that year on getting my pro card. I didn't talk to anybody for a year. I went dark. For all of that year, I disappeared, went off the grid, stepped away from managing with athletes, and literally dove in to get my pro card. And then I came back and I was like, "Yeah, Jeremy, I'm going to see you at the Olympia stage." I never made it there though. But yeah, he inspired me, you know, to go get back into sport, become a pro, transition to coaching, you know, learning the business side of what athletes needed, seeing what he went through, and then him helping me. And then I was able to give back to him over these last couple of years and be there for his return. And, it's been amazing. You know, Jeremy's been truly inspiring in many ways, of a guy that can turn things around and just a complete 360. You know, it wasn't a 180. It was like, boom. You know, watching him be a successful father, how he is with his daughter and now his son, successful husband. You know, he's a great leader to his staff, and watching him run a gym reminds me when I was running my gyms. He's always calling me at new systems. I want to do this. I want to implement this. Should I do this? He's just got that sense. He's gonna be very successful in that business. I'm sure Jeremy is gonna have shows of his own coming up and other things, and I just want to be there with that journey, and I think he's going to be a part of my journey moving forward, and be there for Emmanuel and his journey. I want these guys both to come on as guests because they've been a big influence of my last 10 years and help me get where I'm at. So, and hopefully I can keep that back to them.
Beautiful.
Yeah, man. I mean, Mike and I have known each other a long time, like you said, and like, gosh, it was like 2015 or 2016, like when I launched my first coaching platform, and Mike was the one that facilitated that for me and really taught me the business side of how to do things online. So, the very beginning of something a lot greater that, I was managed to turn into, a big business for myself in my competing years. Like, Mike, you were a foundation of that. I want to give Mike a lot of credit for the effort he's put in to the industry, and not only that, but to the athletes and what he's been able to do for all of us. Like, he goes above and beyond for the people in the industry and the athletes, more so than you see from other coaches or other people that are, tied to NPC or IBB, like promoters and stuff. Like, he wants to see the athletes succeed. He's willing to give that advice. He's willing to give them that direction. He's gone out on a limb time and time again for several different athletes, whether they've appreciated it or not. He's done what he has done to try to help these guys in all aspects of their life, including myself. The mentorship he's been able to give me the past several years of, from, relationships to how to conduct myself with the other athletes, and, being able to sit at the table with these big time businessmen and being able to ask those questions and how to, navigate these conversations, down to the details of the gym. If it wasn't for Mike, there's a lot of this gym I attribute to Mike. I gave him a lot of credit yesterday on Primetime Muscle, for the things that he's done for the athletes and myself. Like, my whole back end system, I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for Mike's, hookup and everything. I wouldn't have had my partnership with Skellcore if Mike didn't make that introduction. So, you wouldn't see what I'm doing right now if Mike hadn't done what he has done for me. It would have been a much tougher road. So, Mike, thank you for everything you've done over the years. I know you've helped Emmanuel significantly. I can name a handful of other guys that probably won't give you credit, but you've been there. You've been there.
Yeah, you have. Every step of my way.
You're you're giving this industry the spark and the effort and the attention that it needs to detail. And that's why I'm so excited for you on this next chapter of your life to dive into the business side of the NPC and IFBB, because they need some new blood in here. They need some new ideas. They need that passion. They need that fire. And to see what you've done with the North Carolina seminar in the past, it's all good. Well, we can still hear you. Don't worry about it. What you've been able to do with the seminar, I mean, it's the largest seminar in the United States now. I was telling everybody about it at primetime about what you're putting on. They're just absolutely shocked. Like, how many pros does he have coming out? How many attendees? Mm-hmm. Like, he literally had to get the convention center this year because he filled up the gym. Like, he has one of the largest goals he has. He packed it out. It's non-room. And to see the support you have from the athletes flying out is because of the acknowledgement of what you're doing for all of us. That's why we're willing to come out there. That's why I don't charge a fee. I come out there because of everything you did for me. I owe it to you. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
I appreciate it, man. It means tremendous coming from you, buddy. It does.
Man.
Yep.
I love that, man. I mean, Jeremy, you gave me goosebumps when you won the fourth, and it gave me goosebumps again after everything that you've said. But I love that, man. I love everything that you've said, man. Just the respect that both you guys have for Mike. I mean, you can tell that this guy is much loved in the bodybuilding community, in the men's physique division more specifically. But Jeremy, I want to ask you a question. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned after being mentored by Mike that you can take away from, not only what he's done as a coach, but what he's done as a promoter and a businessman as well?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, from the personal aspect of things, Mike and I are cut from the same cloth, bro. Like, we're very explosive personalities. We demand respect, and that's just kind of the way we are. But at the same time, Mike, he has like 20 years on me, or however old you are now.
Not that much older,
But as we've gotten older, he's, the maturity is set in, and like navigating the industry and being, somebody that has a face in the sport, that your name and reputation holds a lot of value, and how we got to protect it, how we got to protect that, and how we got to be able to conduct ourselves within the industry, because this industry is built on relationships, as you guys have found out and have seen. You know, it's a relationship based industry, and yeah, I mean, if you want to place good on stage, you got to show up with a great physique. But if you want to succeed in this business, it's all about it's all about the relationships. You know, take it from me, who sabotaged all the relationships in my life after I already accomplished everything I accomplished in my career. I mean, I felt like I had just burned everything to the ground after everything happened. I'm like, I literally just won 4 Olympia titles, and that doesn't mean shit because I just fucked it up for myself. And I was talking to Hani, because I went out there and shot some FST7 content with him a few days ago. I don't know if you guys saw the video we posted. It's pretty cool. But how much it means to being able to grow in this sport. But the relationships are very important. You know, I wouldn't have been able to get back to where I'm at. I wouldn't be able to be the gym owner I am today if I didn't have the members like me. You know, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to go back to shoot content with Evogen that nobody thought was ever going to happen. I had burned that relationship to the ground. I had spit on it. I had pissed on it. And nobody ever thought this. Hani never thought in a million years he'd have me back. But, you know, it's taken time.
I never thought I would talk to him after we separated, and we kind of hated each other. I was like, I'm never going to talk to him again.
Yeah. But, you know, time heals, man. Like, you got to have a lot of patience too. Like, you can't expect somebody to just forgive you right away. You got to prove yourself. An apology away goes so far. No, that's the reason.
A lot of men can't do that, man. A lot of men.
I've been patient with understanding it's going to take a little time for me to work my way back up and earn the trust back from the people in the sport. And, you know, the first 2 years I was back, everybody thought, you know, Jeremy's just saying what everybody wants to hear. I understood that. Over the last couple of years, I think you guys have really seen, like, the way I've been able to conduct myself, handling the scrutiny, you know, dealing with George and Andre all prep. And, you know, you guys can see me pop back on them. You know, I just decided to show up and go out. You know, I just shut mouths. You know, that's what you got to do. Old Jeremy, I've been firing back, throwing personal insult. He doesn't do nothing, you know. So, I mean, it's just it's a business side of things. And I really want these athletes to understand and grasp, like, the possibilities that they can have in this sport if they're open to receiving that knowledge. Me and Mike were talking about, you know, sponsorship and endorsement deals. What are these athletes doing to get these companies to sign them? You know, whenever I have a sponsor, or when I'm trying to find a sponsor, I don't wait for them to tell me or give me a proposal. I write out my proposal form. I should write my deliverables. I tell them what I'm going to perform. I give them a campaign. I tell them what I can do for the next year with them. I write everything out for them, what I can do, what I'm going to produce, what my deliverables are, and how much money I want. And I show them I deserve that money.
Is one of the best people that a company, like, I don't know why every single company that doesn't sign him or goes after him, because he's the biggest return to this day. I mean, when you see Jeremy at the shows, he's the guy that has the longest line. He's the guy that puts the most time into all of his fans. Literally, he will not. I remember that year, I was like, you got to get the hell out of here. You're like, someone didn't show up. I'm not going to mention names, but Jeremy was there until like midnight. He was the last one to leave and still had a line. He's like, I'm not. And that was a big reason why he didn't peak that year, you know, because he really put everything first. People were showing up to his house all night, like, wanted to see him. And Jeremy wanted to give everybody their time and put it into them. And, you know, he was this, how much to see him change, but just to see how much he sacrificed too. People don't realize that, you know, how much he put into being who he was in the sport. And I always look, he's our trailblazer. He's the guy that built this sport for me. He's the one that got me to love men's physique and go pro and want to go pro. It was all because of Jeremy, you know, and
so many people. So many people he's influenced like that.
And he's channeled that.
Yeah, he's one of the reasons why I started competing.
Thank you, guys. A lot of us.
And you know how many athletes? Let me tell you something. You guys have no idea. I mean, we're releasing a lot of interviews, but we've interviewed so many athletes from around the world. I mean, you spin the globe and just stop it. We've probably interviewed them, and you'll be seeing it come out. But we were on the horn with a few athletes from around the world, and they were like, we're like, you know, how'd you get into the sport or whatever? Phil might have asked them or so, and they're like, Jeremy Buendia.
Every time.
Jeremy Buendia on stage.
Every time.
And the impact that you have, and I see you do that as well, Emmanuel, by staying with the fans and by showing them love, especially those kids, especially the ones who are up and coming, that resonates with them for the rest of their lives, So for you to do that, man, to me, that's better than even winning the chip, because that kid now is going to take that and become something. and then he's going to impact other people, and then it just mushrooms out from there, as opposed to, oh no, I don't have time for you, or I'm not showing up.
And I appreciate it a lot, but man, is like, after my announcement of the retirement from the physique stage, I've set to put this out there, like, athletes that reach out to me if they want help with business and understanding sponsorships and how to make money. Like, there's so many ways. Like, I have the blue. I have more than one. I've had calls with Emmanuel. I've told him a lot of advice on how to do things up and running. And I really want athletes to feel welcome to contact me if they have questions and ask me. Like, I'm more than willing. There's enough to go around for everybody. That thing is capitalized. I want to see more collaboration with these athletes. Like, why didn't anybody want to come out here besides Ryan Clark to prep with me or shoot with me on final Olympic prep? Why did anybody else want to come? That doesn't make any sense. It's going to help me. It's going to help you. It's going to get views on it. Everybody knows. I say this humbly as possible. You're going to shoot with me. You're going to get a lot of views. Is it going to bring eyes to you? So why wouldn't they want to come out here and collaborate with me? But I'm willing and I want them. What is it? What is it that they're still staying standoffish with me? Why is that?
I think they're all going to do it now that you're not going after them.
Your platform was too big and too intimidating, I guess, for some athletes. But I know Hart's going out there to see you, from what we heard.
Yeah. Yes. Come out.
What's the biggest investment you can make but then time? It's the only thing you can invest that you can never get back. Money goes. Time, once it's spent, it's forever gone. You can never get it back. It's the most valuable thing that we could ever give to somebody. And that's why I respect Jeremy so much, because he's really helped me do a lot of things that, I had to get off the ground, whether it was my seminars. I mean, I hit a record the first time I ever had Jeremy at my seminar 2 years ago. I was like, oh my God.
Even that one we did, Mike, like in 2015 or 16, that one was huge.
Yeah, I didn't even know we didn't even know what we were doing. We were like, well, let's talk about stuff and get people in a room. Like, it wasn't a thing back then, you know what I'm saying? 10 years ago to do these seminars, but it's been cool, man. I'm going to watch, Emmanuel now transition into, someday he's going to be like Jeremy. And he's going to want to open a gym, and now he's, Jeremy's hopefully, I can't wait to see him have his show one day. And I know that's probably coming, to be there and to watch these guys grow and to be a part of that is what I want to keep doing. And, as I told you guys, I am going to start coaching. It's going to be a different platform, more of a business, fitness, mindset, wellness, but also about staying in health, because I think very successful business people need to put their health still number one, their mind, their body. All that has to stay above and ahead of everybody. You can't be a slob that can't control his food and not work out and become, your energy levels drop, you become out of shape, your mind starts going foggy. Be really successful and be consistent. You got to have everything together. And that's what I really want to show people. And I think Jeremy would be great to be on that platform with me, because, look what he's doing. And this is just the beginning of what Jeremy's going to do. And you're going to see Emmanuel doing more and more. And we're going to be there for him when he transitions out of, being an athlete. And I get to still see him, excel and be a part of giving him the feedback he needs to hopefully win the title one day. But I tell you one thing, man, everything's got to be earned. When you're in my circle, man, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can be my brother and my best friend, but you're going to earn
your part.
What you got, but I want to help you guys, because I think you guys and Suki are the future of our media, are going to take, that to a whole nother level. You're influencers that really influence. So I'm going to back you guys up all the way, and to have you guys presented at my show and Emmanuel's show, and, to be there, hyping people up as a team and think about, it's never going to be done at shows. It's not.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, everyone's going to want to jump on board with, sorry, you guys had to get up for a second. Everybody's going to jump on board with, I think, how we're doing things. And I think you guys, just like we pioneered certain things in the sport, Jeremy's pioneered certain things in the sport. I think you guys are going to do that on your end. And hopefully, again, me and Jeremy, can help you guys do that. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for my transition and, moving into the other side of the sport. but you're definitely going to get what I give. And that's 150%. I think there's so many projects we can work on, especially with guys like right here that we're on this, podcast with today. I think you guys are going to help us really get that audience out there. And that's why I want to push for you guys to grow, because we need it. The NPC is only going to cover certain things and do certain things. And they're not there yet from the media side. And this is where I feel that we need to outsource some of this stuff right now.
Excitement hearing this thing, why is no fire at these shows? Why is it silent in crowds? Why are people throwing themselves at the top 10 guys? All the U.S. guys here that are at the Olympia need to be known. They need to be known. The best. You go to any other country, every single country is backing their guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Building this alliance and doing what we're doing, and Hart's been
great idea.
Really already doing that and getting these guys, building kind of a team of I want to build up more coaches and make more businessmen after they retire. Hart's kind of doing that with the podcast. I'm watching you, man. I'm watching what you're doing.
Well, let us know how we can help, Hart. I'm an hour away or 2 hours away. You got my gym to do content. So if you need to fly somebody out here to Sacramento, I'm 30 minutes from the airport. Bring them out here, come shoot the content. I'll have my podcast studio. You can set up your podcast here if you want to do it here. I'm here. Let's use me as a resource, brother.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I love that, man.
Yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate these hours together, and hopefully people sit through this whole thing and watch it, because I think we shared a lot of really cool things, and people really dive into it, because I think we can help change guys and influence them, and hopefully we get a lot of guys on board to keep on this journey. Not just us. Let's get a legion of warriors together.
That's right.
To accomplish something. So I love it. I appreciate you guys. Couldn't have done it with a better group of guys. And
congratulations to you, Mike, for everything you've accomplished.
We appreciate
you're
you,
going to continue to
Mike.
accomplish, man. Best of luck to you with this future endeavor, next chapter. I know you're going to crush it, brother.
Yep. Well, you guys are going to be in that chapter with me. So I won't ever forget this day. And it'll definitely be one of those things I think about to the end of my life. So thank you for sharing that with me. It was important.
We appreciate you, Mike.
Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you guys.